Hey guys, it's Julian, and today I want to talk to you about why I think that using sample packs, samples, loops, this kind of stuff is not actually cheating. I have a few reasons why I don't think there's really anything wrong with it. It's a little bit controversial, especially I think in our style of music, electronic music, techno, house, all that kind of stuff, but I really don't think it's that bad, and I'm going to talk to you guys about why I still think that it's being creative even if you're using samples and loops and stuff like that. Now before I start with this video, make sure to like the video and subscribe if you haven't already. Say what's up in the comments. And yeah, also you can check out all my sample packs right at the top of the description. And yeah, let's get started. So the first point here that I think is important to keep in mind if you are using samples and loops is that you're still making the track. It's not like you're just pressing a button and this track is just magically finished, but the way it really works is you still have to go in, bring the loop in, build a track around it. Maybe if it's just like a one-shot sample, like a kick or something like that, you have to put it in a sampler and still program it and all of that. So I think that alone is a pretty valid reason as to why, you're still doing some pretty strong creative work to finish the track if you do use a loop. So that's the first thing, there's still a lot of effort there, and if you think about say somebody's first time that they ever pick up Ableton or FL Studio or whatever music making software, it's they're not going to be able to just sit down and make a track using a loop. There's still some skill there just to being able to drag that in and work with it. So I think that's the first thing, you still made the track, you still had the original idea. I think this is the case with a lot of art. It's especially modern art, it's a lot of people kind of say, well, oh, I could do that, or that's so easy, all they did was use a loop, but it's you didn't do that. The person who does have the idea to use the loop or the sample and uses it in their own specific way, I think deserves at least some credit for the creativity behind that. So that's the first thing, is that, you still made the track. It's not like you just pressed a button that made a track for you. That would be a whole other thing, but there was still some creativity involved in building all the stuff around the sample or the loop or whatever it is that you use. So yeah, the other thing here that I've noticed is really a lot of creativity can be had with loops. When you're working with audio loops or with MIDI or even just with a project file where you just drag in some Ableton, a lead or something like that, a lot of creativity can be had. You can do a lot of things to make it your own. A lot of times with loops, I will reverse them, or I'll maybe have a reverse part of it, or I'll pitch it differently, or put it through some effect or something. But it's just because a loop is sounds a certain way in a sample pack or in a certain sample library doesn't mean that's how you have to use it. You can do a lot with loops to change them and make them your own and just do different things to really bring them to life and make it creative. So I think a lot of creativity can be had, and I think a lot of times, this just comes down to people kind of pushing themselves to be creative with certain loops, because a lot of times I hear people just drag stuff in and use it exactly as it was in the sample pack, at the same BPM, at the same key, and yeah, I definitely think, if you are going to use a loop, you should try to find some kind of creative way to use it, but there is a lot of creativity to be had with loops and with samples. And now the other thing that I want to talk about here is that I think if it sounds good, it is good. And what I mean by this is whether you use the sample pack or whether you made everything by scratch with your own sounds or with your own voice or whatever it may be that you could use to make a sound, it still comes down to the final product. If the final product sounds good, that's all that matters, because most people, when they're hearing a song, they're not able to pick apart oh, this is a loop that this person used, this is something that they made themselves. Truth be told, to most people, electronic music, they just think it's all loops or whatever. So I think that it really it really just comes down to the final product. I think a lot of the hate on using sample packs and loops is just people that aren't really thinking about that final product so much as they're thinking of just, oh, this is not valid because you made it this way. But it's not just about the way that you make it. It's really about what it sounds like in the end, because, if something sounds really cool, I'd rather hear a track that sounds really good and really interesting and really cool, where they use a sample pack, over a track that sounds, maybe alright or kind of mediocre that was completely originally made. Just because you know, there might be some sort of ascribed value or some sort of merit that people perceive with making everything yourself. That's not really always the case. Like, again, it's really more about if it sounds good, it is good. And a lot of times, songs where they use loops just sound really good. You know, it's like, the way I kind of think of it is like, if one person is making the loop, and then one person is making the drums, it's like, I'd rather have one person put 100% of effort into making a loop or a sample, and then one person put 100% of effort into making the drums, rather than one person put 50% of effort into the loop and 50% of effort into the drums. So I think that's something that you really get there, and it just goes back to that, if it sounds good, it is good, regardless of the way it was made. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this one, guys. I just had a few points that I wanted to give, a few thoughts that I wanted to share. This is a pretty controversial topic. Ever since I started producing, you know, I've been seeing people talk about this on the internet and discuss it and debate it and have all kinds of different opinions. But really, what it comes down to, I think, is just the final product and how it ultimately sounds when the track is finished and it's exported and it's ready to go for everybody to listen. So yeah, that's going to be it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed. As always, make sure to like this video as well as subscribe. And let me know what you think of this video in the comments. Like I said in the beginning, you can check out my sample packs and all my social media and all that stuff right at the top of the description. This is a really great way to support me if you guys enjoyed these videos, if you're really getting something out of them. And yeah, thank you so much, guys, and I will see you tomorrow with another video.